Hello again, whiskey friends. This is going to be one heck of an episode, everybody. So on this episode, you are going to get to hear me review the Remus Nine-Year new experimental series. Durrell is going to be getting into a Copper and Cask 20-year, and Kelsey is going to be getting into some of his favorite ryes. If these brands aren't on your radar, they should be. So thank you for joining today, whiskey friends. Let's kick off the show. Let's get into a review and see if this is a bottle that you should be hunting. All right, first review out here on the back porch of the season. You know that this is my happy place, having a Sunday fun day out here reviewing whiskeys with you. And what we're going to get into today is a whiskey that I didn't even know I was going to have the chance to review. Took the kids to Dairy Queen, and next door was a random liquor store. And while they were enjoying their ice cream, I'm like, hey, mind if I go and stop in there? And lo and behold, I got my hands on something that I was quite excited about when I saw the initial press releases and the TTB labels going out there. So what we're going to get into today is the latest Remus. Now, this is a Remus 9-year. Coming in at 107 proof. And what makes this one so unique is that it was aged in essentially barrels that are typically used in wine. Now, I'm going to try to pronounce this here. I tried to practice this over and over and over again. Seguin, don't quote me on that. Seguin Moreau. It's like one of my biggest dreads in all this is having to pronunciate these things. But yeah, this is an experimental series coming out of Remus here. You know, I'm going to use this distillery name. I'm going to say it, Ross and Squibb. Now, the reason that I'm going to say Ross and Squibb is because my initial impressions of this bottle were quite high. We're going to go through the review here today, and we'll see what the final scores are at the end of this. But I think I like it so much that I'll say it's from Ross and Squibb. Now, this particular whiskey spent its entire life in those wine casks. Now, when I say wine casks, I mean barrels that are typically used for wine. Not that they had wine in them previously. And those were seasoned casks for over 2 years that were lightly charred and heavily toasted. Now, in Ohio, this one ran me $79.99 plus tax. And I also saw in the press release that this is dropping in around 10 to 12 states. So this is going to be a limited release, at least in terms of its geographic reach. All right, let's pour some of this out. We'll then get into the nose and into the palate and then into the final scores. All right. Thanks for joining me, everybody. We'll get a little bit right there. That was actually a little bit more than I wanted, but we'll make do. If nothing else, I'll finish this review and then let that sit out for a few hours and come back to it. Let's get into the nose first. Cheers, everybody. Now, what sticks out to me right away on this nose is that this is very, very spice forward. Getting a lot of clove and tobacco on top of what is like a really, really pronounced cedar-like oak. Aside from that, also getting a lot of like dried dark berries that I could say are like covered in powdered sugar as well. So there is a little bit of a dull sweetness trying to come through. All right, nose has me excited, but let's get into the palate. Cheers, everybody. Oh, wow. Oh, it's so lovely. We're going to have some fun today. So first off, I'm going to try to show this into the glass here. Oh my gosh, look at that. See? So this is only 107 proof, but look at that. It is so rich and oily. The mouthfeel is actually one of the like standout characteristics of this whiskey. But up front, you know, it's more sweet than it is spicy. That tobacco does come through. And there's a little bit of a slight nuttiness that I wasn't expecting alongside of that oak. And once again, this oak on this thing is a unique profile, even for being 9 years. I mean, very, very cedar-like, I think is still the best way that I can explain what's happening with this oak. But it's just a unique profile here. As we transition into a very delicious mid-palate, one of the things I thought about was essentially a baked Alaska. Now, if you aren't familiar with that dish, it's essentially a layer of cake and I believe ice cream covered in meringue that is then charred with a torte. So definitely getting that charred meringue off the top. But then there's that creaminess of that more of like a natural vanilla ice cream. And then just some really, really, really delicious white cake underneath that with some frosting in there as well. So even though the nose was so spice leaning, man, mid palate is just all about that cakey dessert, elegant dessert at that. So fabulous. Let's get into the finish. I must say, every time I sip this, I like it more and more and more. On the finish, the baked Alaska continues. So you're still getting that cakiness and the creaminess and the charred meringue. But then those dark fruits comeback that I mentioned on the nose. And then as the finish starts to let up a little bit, it leaves you with that cedar-like oak and a bit of a nuttiness, more like a walnut. So more of that soft nuttiness than that aggressive nuttiness. Bit of lingering tobacco in there as well. So it kind of bookends when it comes to what I was getting on the nose and what I was getting in the finish. So you kind of get those profiles on either end with all that cake goodness in the middle. All right, let me go in for a final sip. We'll see if I think of anything else here. Cheers, everybody. Lovely, lovely, lovely pour, everybody. So here on the channel, we do have a robust scoring system, essentially comprised of a flavor score, an experience score, and a value score. All of those scores combined dictate the final score. And then based on that final score, we can come up with that final recommendation on this particular whiskey. And on this one, I am very impressed with the final score of an 86 out of 100. And man, I must say, every time I sip on this, I like it a bit more. I could maybe even go up to an 87. I don't think I could go up to an 88. But for something that is sitting there at $80 and 107 proof, oh man, this is quite lovely. And thus a strong recommend with this gold status coming from the channel. I think what impresses me so much about this one, it's not just that it's amazing whiskey all in all, it's that Ross and Squibb released this at $80 for an experimental 9-year. You know, thinking about what's happened with the price of the Remus Repeal Reserve over the years, getting up to 100, 120. For them to release the first release of this experimental series at $80, for it to be so unique in so many ways with the barrels that this was aged in, and then for us to be able to get our hands on it for $80 is such a treat. So thank you, Ross and Squibb, for this one. That is literally the first review that I've called them Ross and Squibb the entire time. That's how much I like this whiskey, that I was willing to give up on calling them the 3-letter acronym that I said I wouldn't say. I don't think I said it throughout the video, but Ross and Squibb, great job on this one. So if you've had a chance to get this, let me know what you think of it in the comments and hang on for the next review. Cheers, everybody. Thanks for hanging out, everybody. Before we move on to the next segment, I want to give a shout out to our friends, Katie and Ethan, over there at the Drifting Drams Coffee Company. Fancy coffee for regular people. All right, Michael Bortner, you are the winner of this week's Drifting Drams gift card. So reach out to me to claim your prize. My email is in the description of this video. Congratulations. And thank you, everybody, for supporting Drifting Drams Coffee Company. Now it's time to catch up with Kelsey over in the Whiskey Riffs Lounge.
Hello again, whiskey friends. This is Kelsey here in the Whiskey Riff Lounge. Today, we're going to be doing 2 ryes. First up, we've got the Old Heritage Old Forester 100 rye versus a craft rye that I'm super excited about. This is the J.A.P. Conoley Limited Reserve Rye Whiskey Barrel Proof. So let's get into these and let's see who comes out on top. Okay, first up, we have the J.P. Conoley, or John A.P. Conoley, excuse me. Let's check it out on the nose. So on the nose, lots of fruit notes, very sweet up front, some caramel, almost comes across more like a bourbon than a rye on the nose. So, so fruit up front, some bourbon notes with caramel. Let's get into the palate on this thing. Okay, so on the palate, this comes across more like a sweet mash bourbon. It's really sweet up front, very fruity, very caramely. I would say that this is more of a bourbon drinker's rye with this craft distillery. This is a very young rye whiskey, probably less than 3 years old. It is 114 proof. This is right in the wheelhouse for anybody that wants to try a rye that has not tried one. Let's take a second sip here. So on the second sip, very consistent, caramel, sweet up front, fruit notes up front, mid palate, you get the oak. And then the finish just lingers a little bit of oak. Now, this one, like I said, is more of a bourbon drinker's rye. It's not going to be minty or spearminty or anything like that, or piney. So that's more of what I would say a bourbon drinker would look for in a rye. So let's head over to the heritage version here, which is the Old Forester Rye 100. Cheers. So on the nose, I'm getting a little bit of bubble gum, a little bit of spearmint, not a whole lot, but just a hint. But the bubble gum is coming out very strong on the nose on this. Let's get into the palate and see what else we can get. Bubble gum follows through in the palate. I don't know if it's because of the previous one influencing it, but that comes across super easy to drink, more like a 95er than a 100. It's super easy to drink, a little drying on the finish, Let's go back in for a second sip and let's see if there's anything else. So on the second sip, there's more of that sweetness coming through. And I think this is a barely legal rye as well, but that do get that rye spice on the mid palate. It's coming through way more than the John A. Conoley. It is very, very sweet up front, which I think a lot of people for bourbon drinkers would love. So overall, the Heritage brand comes more across as a rye than the Conoley. And I think it's because of the rye spice coming through, making you think that it's proof, but it's not necessarily the case. As we walk through both of these, I noticed some distinct differences. You've got one, the John A. Conoley, that is more focused on the sweetness up front and the fruit notes up front that I don't normally get on a rye, except for Hard Truth ryes typically are kind of fruity. And then the Heritage brand, the Old Forester 100, comes across with a little bit of a bubblegum note up front. Then you get the rye spice in the middle of the palate, like straight down the middle of your tongue, and then hardly any oak. Whereas the John A.P. Conoley, you get more of the oak on the finish. And the other thing that I would suggest to you is to do different pairings with these. The thing that I would pair most with the Conoley is this La Creme cigar, if I can get it to focus. Yeah, La Creme by Crown Heads. This is a very chocolatey cigar and goes very, very well with either one, but I really would pair it with the John A.P. Conoley. This is a craft distillery out of North Carolina, I believe, and it is around $40. So it's a little bit more expensive than the Old Forester at $29, but you're getting a way different profile. So from now on, I'll try to give you some pairing notes with the rye. I always love this for my old fashions, the Old Forester 100. I think it makes a great old fashioned. It's good to drink neat, but for me, that's an old fashioned rye 100%. Thanks so guys so much for watching.
Let's see what Durrell, the whiskey saint, is up to these days.
What is going on, everybody? Welcome back. I'm Durrell. We're just going to dive into some whiskey, guys. Pretty excited about this review. Got to taste this a few months back before it was kind of really bottled. And I was pretty excited then. Found out it came out, dropped at a few places. Had to work some magic to try to get a couple bottles for some people and myself. But what we're going to be diving into, guys, and talking about today is the newest small batch from Copper Cask. It is batch 10 cigar blend whiskey, finished in Armagnac and port barrels, coming in at a whopping, I say whopping, 145.2 proof, guys. This thing is going to be nuts. I'm going to pour this up in a minute. If you're new to the channel, hit the like and subscribe. I'm going to kick the show off. Cheers. Welcome back, guys. Poured a little bit up and we're going to dive in shortly. Just going to spin this around a little bit, get some air in there because it does need some air. Actually, it really doesn't need air. It's just a beast of a whiskey, kind of throwing my cards out already saying that, but we're going to dive in, give you guys some notes and let you know what I think, honestly. So cheers. What's going on the nose? If it wasn't so proof forward on the nose, I can sit here and just nose this for days. Like the aromas, the notes, tons of vanilla spice, like orange peel. Oh, it's like an orange marmalade. Like, God, it's kind of tough to put my finger on it. But like if you have like a little pound cake and you kind of smeared some like orange preserves over the top of it, mixed in with, some nice spice, but it's so citrus forward on the front, mixed in with some vanilla. A lot of spice right there. Nose is crazy. Do get a little bit of depth. Get some age there too. Like surprisingly, the whiskey is 20 years old, but it doesn't nose like a conventional 20-year-old bourbon, right? It is Canadian whiskey. So it is a little bit different, but you definitely get some depth in there. Oh man. Yeah. The more you smell it, the more of like that oak funk comes around for you. All right. We're going to give it a taste, guys. Cheers. It's like a flavor explosion. That is nuts. So normally when I'm tasting through whiskeys and reviewing, you'll get different experiences on the tongue. Some hit the front of the tongue, some hit the mid, some hit the back. This thing upon first sip just lit my whole tongue, hit every single part of it. Like it's coated. Literally feels like the whiskey is stuck there, as I can get like the kind of like the ethanol vapor. Feels like I'm almost inhaling it. It's kind of, I don't know if I really had that experience with a whiskey before, but it almost feels like I'm inhaling it in a sense as, I drank it like 30 seconds ago, 20 seconds ago. That's pretty nuts. But so much citrus, berry, crazy spice. It definitely drinks as proof, guys. It's not some of those just say light whiskeys that are 140 proof that drink more like 120. This drinks like 140. It definitely does. But it's not a turn off by any means for me. Like this just lights you up, but in a very good way. You just get hit with so much flavor on the mouth. Like, it's crazy. I really haven't had many whiskeys give me this type of experience on the mouth. It's pretty wild. I'm going to take another sip. Dang, still tasting it. That second sip dials it back ever so slightly. But as I'm talking, like, I'm literally salivating. Like, it's just coating the mouth and making just like waters like burst on my tongue. Like, it's pretty nuts. But yeah, so berry forward. The port on this 20-year-old finished in Armagnac and port, but I get a lot of dark berry. I don't pick up the Armagnac that much, maybe a slight bitterness that I typically get on some like old Armagnacs, but this is all port, not like port wine, but like just a lovely finish of port on this whiskey. Yeah, there's no denying that whatsoever, but it hits me in all the right places. If you guys know me, I've been talking to you guys for a bit now, right? But like, fruit forward whiskeys, berries, dark berry, all that good stuff. Give me all the fruits on the whiskey. And this hits well above. Like, this thing is nuts. And the price point, guys, we'll get into the price point on this. This thing is insane if you can find it. Like I said, guys, small batch series 10. And there will be some more batches of these. Just talking to Steven, the master distiller, and he's just getting rave reviews about this bottle. Everybody's hunting it now. So he's definitely going to be trying to put together like another batch. I'm not sure if it's going to be another small batch series or just, you know, an individual release that may be bigger this time, because this was only 15 barrels. Right. So released this year, 2025, Alberta, being distilled in 15 barrel blend. Not sure how many bottles that was. You know, it's not 20-year-old bourbon, so it probably wasn't super short barrels, being that it was Canadian whiskey. But I could be mistaken. But boy, oh boy, does this thing like just hit. Guys, the price on this, $80, $79.99 most places. And the thing with Copper Cask, most stores really don't know what they got. You know, they see all the big names, the turkeys and this and that, and they want to make those secondary prices on the shelf when Copper Cask just sit there. Love the price points, guys. $79.99 for a 20-year-old whiskey. Like, where are you getting at? Like, if you can find something, let me know in the comments. I'm curious if there's another 20-year-old whiskey out there for $80. Crazy. Bourbon or rye, like just in general, whiskey in general. Let me know if you've seen a 20-year-old at that price point. And if you did, I bet you it isn't hitting like this. I'm going to take one more sip, guys. This thing just want to keep drinking it. And it's one that's scary. You keep drinking this, it's definitely going to hit you because you feel that. But it's so good that you just want to keep drinking anyway. One more sip. The more you sip, the tamer it gets. Like, it's not that immense flavor eruption, but it still coats the mouth crazy. Like, super viscous. Literally just sitting on my tongue, sides of my cheeks, roof of my mouth. Like, everything has all that flavor. It's like super concentrated too. But that port influence is lovely on this, on the nose and on the palate. A little bit more citrus on the nose, oak shine and the vanilla shines. But on the palate, it's all spice, dark berry with some citrus in there. Not so much of the vanilla on the palate, but this thing lights you up, guys. Oh man. I did score this whiskey, guys. And this is probably going to be in probably a top 5 for the year, come the end of the year. This scored a 91 for me, guys. Like, pretty nuts. Like, not many whiskeys, you know, typically score over or in the 90s for us on the channel. And when they do, they're usually in our top 5, if not top 10. So I'm curious to see what's really going to knock this off. I haven't really reviewed a bunch of whiskey, but they typically still don't score in the 90s, right? So we'll see come the rest of the year, you know, what can maybe knock this off a bit or what's competing with it. But in terms of mouthfeel, like, I really haven't had a whiskey give me that type of mouthfeel. This thing is nuts. Guys, if you do see this bottle, this is worth a pickup. It's even worth a pickup above retail. $80 is just kind of silly for the price. Honestly, I would pay to 125, maybe 150. Like, I think it's really good. Curious to know if anybody's had this. If you did, let me know in comments what you think. I know I sent a couple bottles out to some people, so curious what they think as well. You know, but this is one that you do not want to sleep on if you do see it, guys. Pick this up. Let me know what you think. Oh, it's killer. And I can't wait for the end of the year because this got to be in that one. There's no way that this isn't going to make our top 10. Killer bottle, guys. Copper Cask doing crazy things. Can't wait for the next batch. Can't wait to see what they're doing, you know, this year, man. Steven's a mastermind over there blending and doing crazy stuff. So I'm pretty excited with them, man. And they're right in my neck of the woods, about 10 minutes away. So I get to visit, hang out, and kind of mess around with everything that's over there, man. But killer place, killer whiskey. Guys, if you see it, buy it. Back it up. It's that good. Till next time, guys. Cheers.
Thanks to this great community, we've had the privilege of picking some amazing barrels over the last year, and we are going to continue that in 2025. Coming up, we will have barrels of Green River, Bardstown, and Old Dominic, with many more on the way. If you'd be interested in getting in on our barrel picks, consider joining our Patreon community to be first in line. We also share barrel pick news with our private Facebook group, link in the description. Come be a whiskey friend and join us on this journey. Thank you for watching this week's show, everybody. If you're still here, please be sure to hit that subscribe button. We're going to bring you content every single week. Catch us live on Whiskey Wednesdays. In the description, if you're interested in joining our Patreon and be first in line for our barrel picks, or if you just want to hang out and enjoy our private Facebook group. Links in the description. Cheers, everybody, and we'll catch you on the next one.